Hello, class. My name is Evans Akpo, and it's a pleasure to have a second class again. I really appreciate what you guys did in the first class. This doctoral program has been very interesting with most of you. And I also thank you too for the discussion. I actually read the discussion, and then thank you very much for how most of you contributed. Your contribution was very helpful. Nathan, thank you for making a distinction between a leader and leadership. I thought that was very profound because it actually set the tone in the other discussion, especially how Abigail responded. So your last week grade has been completed and it's been toning. I provided feedback. I think you guys did very well. I appreciate that. I also like the fact that most of you have started drawing some theoretical framework of leadership and giving personal examples. I thought that has actually enriched our discussion for our last class. So as a refresher, I want to also thank you too for a better understanding and the video you created on servant leadership. So in our last class, we talked about servant leadership, and then most of you were able to give example drawing from Jesus' story and also too from the leaders around. You drew examples from the leaders in your school and then from the leaders in your workplace, how they exemplify servant leadership. That was pretty profound. Now, in this model, it's going to be transformational leadership. So I'm going to be sharing a PowerPoint, and I'm also going to be making some things very clear, some things that we will need to understand as we proceed with this class. So one of the things that I want to highlight in this module is the fact that the model will be analyzing and critiquing leadership styles and their effectiveness. So transformational leadership is in chapter 8 of the textbook that we are using. And then in the discussion on transformational leadership, we're going to discuss how transformational leaders differ from other leadership styles. So we're going to be making a distinction between the style of transformational leaders, and also we're going to provide examples of transformational leaders, the ones you admire, and explain why you consider them transformational. So we want to also know the why. So why is very important because it speaks of the motive. It speaks of the reason why you consider this person a transformational leader. If you understand, you will notice based on our last discussion when I introduced myself that I stayed some time in England, even though I was born in Nigeria. Now, in England, they have different styles of leadership that I have experienced. I remember some years ago how it was said that Mahatma Gandhi from India came to England and he gave a speech for 3 hours. So when he finished giving the speech in Parliament, the secretary was called inside and said that how come Mahatma Gandhi was able to give a speech for 3 hours and he never opened a book? He never read anything, but he stood and spoke for 3 hours. The secretary said, well, Mahatma Gandhi lived exactly what he says. So there is a coherence between his lifestyle and what he was delivering. So it was part of him. Now we will see this as we go on chapter 8 about transformational leader, how coherent they are with their lifestyle. So that makes them very consistent on the principles that they hold. In this discussion, we're going to be distinguishing between transformational leadership and other styles of leadership. So in that assignment, you're going to be writing a 2 to 3 page paper. You're going to analyze a real life examples of transformational leadership. You choose a leader from Christianity, history, business, politics, or any other field, and you assess how their leadership style aligns with the characteristic of transformational leadership that is outlined in the book. Now, these are going to be the rubric for it. Please make sure that you pay close example to some of the criteria that I'll be using in grading. I provided it here. These are basics. So it's very, very important that you look at it closely because the rubric for the discussion, I'm going to be looking at engagement and participation. I'm going to be looking at critical thinking and analysis because that is going to be 30%, and contribution to your peer learning. And then engagement and participation is 30%. Clarity and coherence of response is going to be 20%. And then they're also going to be reflective journal entry. The last reflective journal entry, you all did a very good job. I appreciate that. But like you know, the largest room in the world is a room for improvement. So we can always improve. But in this case, you are going to watch the video lecture on transformational leadership by John Maxwell, and you are going to write a reflected entry discussing your key takeaways and insight from the lecture. So the YouTube is there. You're going to reflect on how the concept discussed in the lecture aligns with or challenge your understanding of transformational leadership as presented in the textbook. You're going to consider how you can apply this insight to your own leadership practice or future aspirations. Now, this is going to be the rubric for it, which is on your syllabus, the criteria, the examples. I'm looking at proficiencies, so basics. And then I'm also going to be providing students too with the opportunity to explore key concepts in leadership theory as we critically analyze leadership style and reflect on their leadership practices. So in this module, we're going to be talking about transformational leadership. As you know, I always reiterate the mission of this institution. Welland Baptist University exists to educate students in an academically challenging, learning focused, and distinctively Christian environment for professional success and service to God and humankind. So that is the mission of this institution, to prepare you for great leadership. And most of you have already started it in your places of work. Now, looking at transformational leadership, there are some key things that stand out. Transformational leadership, as we know, is a dynamic approach that inspires and empowers followers to do what? To achieve extraordinary results. That is to say, it inspires followers to go over and beyond in achieving extraordinary results. It goes beyond the traditional management style of focusing or cultivating a shared vision, and it brings the best in individual. We will see that continuously in the lives of transformational leaders. The essence of transformational leadership is they are visionaries. They have a clear vision of what they want to achieve. Not only do they have a clear vision, they are able to communicate that clear vision. They communicate it in such a way that it inspires others. And then in their communication, they are able to empower. So transformational leaders don't just inspire their followers, they empower them. They empower followers by recognizing and developing their potential. And this fosters a sense of ownership in the lives of the followers. It gives them a sense of autonomy. Just think about it this way. With a clear vision, empowering your followers, what do you think happens? They become innovative and creative. Transformational leaders encourage this creativity because it challenges the status quo, fostering a culture of innovation. As I'm talking, I'm sure most of you will be thinking about some transformational leaders that you must have seen. Okay, let me tell you about some years ago. All engineers, they concluded that it was impossible for metal object to fly. But the Dwight brothers did something extraordinarily different. They explored, they transformed the system, and for the first time, they did it in such a way that metal object was able to fly. And that was what led to what we now have, the airplane. And most of us can now fly. We can fly from different places of the world. But they challenged the engineers of that time with their status quo. Another characteristic of transformational leaders that we'll see is they are charismatic. Transformational leaders possess a magnetic, inspirational presence that motivates, and captivates their followers. Emotional intelligence. They have a deep understanding of themselves. They know who they are. And that reminds me of the book that was titled Leading Like Jesus. The author said the most important component that we see in transformational leaders are they know whose they are and who they are. In the case of Jesus, he knew who he belonged to, and then who he was. because they have a good identity of themselves. They understand who they are. With their emotional intelligence, they are able to allow their followers navigate interpersonal dynamics effectively. Transformational leaders are principled because they are able to uphold moral, ethical values. Not only are they able to uphold it, they live it. So because of their level of consistency, as we have seen, they inspire trust, because trust comes as a result of consistency. They are principled. Now, what are some of the things that transformational leaders do that leads to empowering their followers? They delegate authorities. In delegating authorities, as we have seen over the years, they're able to foster autonomy. And then they provide support. You will see consistently in most followers of transformational leaders, because of the support that they have provided for their followers, they are often referenced. Transformational leaders offer guidance, coaching, and resources to help followers reach their full potential. Let's look at inspiration, because they are inspirational, motivational. And because of this, they are able to ignite passion and purpose. And that reminds me of the statement of Miles Moron some years ago. He said that when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. So transformational leaders, they have a clear purpose. They lead with contagious enthusiasm, and they are passionate. They understand their purpose, and then they communicate their belief, igniting a sense of purpose in others. They will see over the years that they are very, very optimistic. So transformational leaders, they project an optimistic attitude. Is it that they don't have some fears, but they don't allow their fears stop them? There are the interviews with some transformational leaders that we have seen in the book that was shared by John Maxwell. He stated that transformational leaders could have some fears, but they don't communicate those fears, and they don't allow those fears stop them. Because they are able to communicate their vision with so much clarity, there is now need to have this shared vision in a meaningful way. Transformational leaders, they challenge assumptions, encourage creativity. Because they encourage creativity, they are able to foster an environment that nurtures creative thinking, allowing new ideas to flourish. So every now and then, you see that they give autonomy to their followers. New ideas are able to be flourished. They also promote learning. They foster a culture of continuous learning, empowering followers to develop some skills and knowledge. Transformational leaders are able to embrace change. If you remember the book that was written some years ago, he said that the 21st century illiterates are not people who cannot read or write. They are people who cannot unlearn, learn, or relearn. So transformational leaders are adaptable, embracing change, and inspiring others to do the same. They challenge the status quo. They encourage creativity. They promote a learning environment, a culture of learning, and then they are happy to embrace change. What are some individualized considerations in nurturing growth and talents among transformational leaders. Mentoring. Transformational leaders act as mentors, providing personalized guidance. Mentorship becomes key in transformational leaders in passing their messages across. Coaching. Transformational leaders offer constructive feedback and coaching to help followers identify and overcome their challenges. I'm sure you must have seen some transformational leaders that inspire some of us to do great things. It might be in our place of work, on how they provide some feedback on how we could do better. And they also provide us with some coaching that help us identify and overcome some barriers to our growth. And that obviously helps transformational leaders develop themselves in the lives of their followers. So transformational leaders invest in the professional and personal development of followers, creating opportunity for growth. In doing all of this, there must be some impact for transformational leaders. What are some of the impact? There is increased engagement. Think about some companies like Facebook, Amazon, Apple. We see that when transformational leaders come to this space, there is increased engagement because they foster a sense of ownership and commitment among followers, to the extent some people feel they are part of this organization or they own this organization because of this increased engagement that transformational leaders have been able to impact. In doing that, we see improved performance. Through transformational leaders' approaches, it creates a space for improved performance among followers. And this enhances creativity and drives innovation and development of new focus of empowerment. Those are the impact that transformational leaders make in organizations. Now, as I mentioned in our last class, that all these theories of leadership, styles of leadership, they all have their critiques. Transformational leaders have been criticized over the years. One criticism is that they lack some conceptual clarity in the sense that they are inspirational, they are combined, and then the issue of charismatic has also led to some criticism. So in this module, you will be presenting some of the criticism that you have observed in the discussion part of it, and it will be graded along. So I'm looking forward to your work. I'm excited about the last work, and I hope you'll be able to put in more examples like you did in your previous work. So this will conclude this module as we go through this chapter 8. Once again, thank you very much for the time as we go through this program. Looking forward to your work and have a great and a blessed day. Bye for now.